More changes are coming to the New York Knicks, and this has Knicks players absolutely fired up. As after Tom Thibodeau got fired from the Knicks, it was clear there were going to be multiple changes to both the team and the coaching staff. And now, in a huge report, Leon Rose is going to have to be a part of a tough decision-making process when a new head coach is hired by the team. And we're going to break all this down and what it means. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here. And guys, if you're part of that 74% that's not subscribed to Knicks Digest, make sure to subscribe. You guys have been killing it recently. We're under 400 subscribers away from 17,000 already, and we started the playoffs at 13.5K. Thank you so much for the support. Let's keep it going, and more importantly, let's talk about the New York Knicks. Specifically, this New York Knicks. Or as we could put it, this New York Knicks dad. Jalen Brunson's father, Rick Brunson, is the subject of a lot of news right now following the firing of Tom Thibodeau. Now, there's been a bunch of questions surrounding if Rick Brunson is going to get fired with Thibodeau, as Brunson was the associate head coach, and usually when a new head coach comes in, they like to pick their own associate head coach. If anyone's wondering what that is, it's just the next in charge, the second in command. That was Rick Brunson after Johnny Bryant signed away from the New York Knicks to the Cleveland Cavaliers for the same role, but with a different team, including being with Donovan Mitchell, his very close friend who he worked with extensively in Utah. Now, obviously, as we know, Johnny Bryant is the favorite to become the next head coach of the New York Knicks, given that's far from a guarantee. And Bryant and Brunson did work together for a bit of time. However, at the same point, they worked together for 2 seasons. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that if Bryant comes in, he will want Rick to be his associate head coach. Now, that means there's multiple different scenarios here. First of all, there's a world that Rick Brunson, whatever coach it is, whether it's Bryant or not, maybe that player doesn't want Brunson on the lineup. Maybe some players and coaches don't get along. If you guys kind of see where I'm going with this, there is kind of a lot to go over on Rick, and there's also some more updates on Thibs. But with Rick, when we look at it, we're going to look at a coach come in and have to decide what they want to do with Rick Brunson, because that's going to be a big question mark right now. And recent reports have shown that, per HoopsWire sources, multiple Knicks players have been unhappy with the presence of assistant coach Rick Brunson, the father of star guard Jalen Brunson. What that issue is exactly has not been determined. Those sources suggest that Rick has had too big of a say in things. And it was mentioned that, essentially, by Arish Mather, now this photo doesn't fully have Jalen and Rick Brunson together in it, like I tried, but look, basically it was mentioned that what the issue is exactly has not been determined. Those sources suggested that Rick had too big of a say in things. One source called Rick the person with the most power in the entire organization. His status is uncertain following Tom Thibodeau's dismissal. Though considering he is Jalen's dad, many assume Rick will remain with the team in some capacity. Rick and Jalen were said to be Thibodeau supporters, with Jalen strongly indicating as much when asked about Thibodeau after the Indiana Pacers eliminated the Knicks in 6 games. Now, obviously, whatever coach comes in, you have to understand that Jalen Brunson is the engine of this team. He puts up 26 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists. He shot 48% from the field, 38% from the 3, and has been the real catalyst, the main reason why the New York Knicks have won a playoff series since 2013. So we look at Jalen Brunson and understand that he's going to have some pull in this organization like most superstars do in their organization. That's not something that differs very often. We see this all the time. Rick Brunson got hired soon before Jalen Brunson got signed. The Knicks brought him in days before, as they were clearly tampering for Jalen Brunson. But oh, boo-hoo, we lost a second-round pick or 2. It's not really the end of the world at all. It was totally worth trading 2 second-round picks for Jalen Brunson. But we look at this situation. First of all, that's not true. Rick did not have the most power within the Knicks organization. It's Leon Rose. Leon still holds, and I'm not fully counting James Dolan because obviously it's always the owner, but within people who are not the owner, it was Leon Rose. It's always been Leon. Rick Brunson does not hold that much power over the Knicks. Now, yes, getting rid of Rick Brunson probably makes Jalen Brunson a little upset because Rick Brunson's his dad. Enough said. I think I've said that 50 million times in this video already. But it does make you consider what's going to happen. There's been a lot of different opinions on Rick Brunson and what the New York Knicks should do with him. Some have suggested that maybe you just move him into some sort of front office role and take him off the bench, but keep him within the Knicks. For me, and I don't know how popular people are going to find this, if I'm being honest, Jalen Brunson likes Thibs and obviously loves his dad. You fired Thibs, something that Jalen Brunson definitely had a say in, and Thibs still got fired. So I think we sort of know what happened there to a degree. On top of that, or at least Jalen Brunson wasn't adamantly against it, but on top of that, what we would then see is the coach he's closest with and his dad also get fired. That could shake Jalen Brunson up a little bit. Let's not do that. Let's not. And also, if Rick's an assistant coach next year and not the associate head coach especially, like, let's say, because I imagine it's going to be who they hire for all intents and purposes, they hire Johnny Bryant. Bryant and Rick know each other. There's a real world where Bryant would pick Rick Brunson as the associate head coach because he's already done the role. Bryant's done the role. He knows that Rick will have an understanding of what Bryant is asking for. Bryant will have an understanding of what Rick is asking for. It could work. It absolutely could. Or the Knicks will go in a completely different direction and say it's still Bryant, and he's like, I want to bring in my own guy for associate head coach. Sorry, Rick, but I still want you on the bench, and Rick Brunson would probably give the okay because he doesn't have the most power in the Knicks organization. Jalen Brunson's not going to request a trade because his dad's no longer the associate head coach. That's just not going to happen. So with all of that in mind, what we're seeing is a situation where Jalen Brunson, you just don't want to upset him to the point where you're firing his dad or anything like that, and the Knicks would not do that. So it's not something we really have to fully worry about, but with players not liking Rick Brunson at some points, or apparently, it's not clear if this is a fact, but with the reports showing that, it does make more sense, as people said, with Rick Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo getting separated, as that was mentioned, and also, when the Knicks signed Rick Brunson days before Jalen, or a month before Jalen joined the team, it is pretty evident that that had an impact on things, as Brunson was being looked at by multiple teams. The Mavericks wanted to bring him back, the Indiana Pacers, the Detroit Pistons, both those teams showed interest in Jalen Brunson. Brunson ended up with the Knicks instantly. Part of the reason was that's where his dad was, and he wanted to be close to where his family was living and be coached by his dad because he probably wanted to spend more time with his dad. So it all makes sense. It all adds up, and you can't blame Jalen Brunson for that. You can't blame Rick Brunson for that. So you now enter this situation where Thibs is gone. Rick is still the associate head coach as of now, and a lot of fans have also questioned, well, what if Rick becomes the head coach? Is that a possibility? I got a comment recently today actually saying that Rick Brunson, now that I say that, this video is probably coming out on Friday, June 6th. So we're going to say yesterday because I am filming this on June 5th, but there was that Kevin Durant video that I dropped first, so there's that. But look, with all of this in mind, what we're seeing is the fact that Rick has been floated by a comment of mine and by a bunch of people about potentially becoming the next head coach of the New York Knicks. Well, Ian Begley, he discussed that and said, the follow-up question for many media members on Tuesday was about the future of Rick Brunson, Jalen's father and Thibodeau's lead assistant. I can't see the Knicks forcing any coach to keep Brunson. I also don't think they would have to force the issue. If you're a new head coach and you want to connect with the face of your franchise, would you want to piss him off by firing his dad? It doesn't strike me as a logical move, and I 100% agree. Essentially, whoever's going to become the new head coach, you're not going to start off on the wrong foot by telling the franchise superstar, the best player who's been here since Patrick Ewing, hey, your dad is fired. Sucks to be you, buddy. They're not going to do that. So Rick Brunson's going to be on the team next year, but no, he's not going to be the head coach. That's not really an option the Knicks are entertaining at all right now. So if you're part of the Rick Brunson should be the head coach hive, I understand the argument that you're making here. It's just never going to happen. So it's one of those things where if you want to die on the hill that Rick Brunson should be the head coach, I'm not going to stop you, but I am just going to say you're not going to get what you want. He's not head coaching the Knicks. Rick has a very slightly better chance of head coaching the Knicks than I do. So, essentially, no, it's not going to happen. If anyone from this Knicks bench right now was to get elevated to head coach, I'm almost positive, like someone on the Knicks bench right now as one of their coaches, one of their assistant coaches, I would bet a ton of money that it would be either Andy Greer or Dice Yoshimoto. I would probably side with Dice because he's the head coach of the Summer League team, which is really the only reason why. But both Greer, Brunson, and Dice have been with Thibodeau on multiple teams, including the Minnesota Timberwolves. But they look at Dice more than the rest of them to be that head coach. Like, say Thibs were to get ejected, Dice would be the guy to really take over or say Thibs was out for a while, Dice would have taken over. That's really what we would have seen. It would have been Bryant, obviously, but Thibs wasn't getting ejected because the refs like Thibs because Thibs is a respectful guy. So, obviously, Thibs is not going to be coaching the Knicks next year, and neither is Rick Brunson, but Rick should be there. Now, on the topic of Thibs, though, a lot did start to come out about him after the firing. And one of those things is that Stefan Bondy said, Knicks say that Thibs wasn't the coach to get them to the promised land, but of course, it's a little bit more complicated. My understanding is that Thibodeau's non-negotiable personality was also grating on some players and members of the organization. And on top of that, we see that who was on the Timberwolves when Thibs got fired in 2019, as a rival executive said, who is Cat's former agent? Leon Rose, who is now the president of the Knicks. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Cat told Leon and James Dolan during his exit interview that he didn't want to play for Thibs anymore. Now, is that possible? Yes. I don't think that happened. I think all of the players said, look, I love Thibs. He's a good guy. But there's some things that I don't understand. Look, what I know and what I've said on this channel already is that the players who were involved in that meeting with James Dolan and Leon Rose and William Wesley, none of them really died on the hill of defending Tom Thibodeau. They all said they didn't fully understand their roles, and they also all said that they didn't have an undying faith in Thibs. So, clearly, Tom Thibodeau was expendable, and the players agreed. So, I don't think pinning this all on Towns is fair to Towns, just because he's been on a team that Thibodeau got fired on before. I don't think that matters. I really don't. They had a bunch of players who were on either the Timberwolves or the Chicago Bulls. Derrick Rose, Taj Gibson, on both those teams as well. I know they're not there now, but still, they were there. Just because there's another overlapping scenario here, we're going to double back and pin it on Towns again? No. Towns gets a terrible, terrible rep from basketball, and it's weird, and I don't think he deserves it. He was arguably the best player in the conference finals. Man put up 25 and 12, for God's sakes. Give him some respect. But with all that in mind, Rick Brunson's not going to be the head coach. I still think it is going to be Johnny Bryant. The things are heating up, and we will get back to talking about that over the weekend and today, probably Friday, June 6th. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all the support you've given me. We are absolutely killing it, so please subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and if you're not, you could tell me that you hate me in the comments down below. Honestly, it doesn't make me feel great, but at the same time, I do like getting all the comments I can get, because some of them are just constructive criticism, and I do not mind that at all. Guys, thank you so much for it all. I will catch you on the next one. Have a great day. Happy, probably Friday. Go Knicks.